4 on Fire 6, order investigation. 4218 South 290 Street, 1132.
Continuing coverage of the LA wildfires. It has been almost a month now since the Eaton Fire destroyed the community of Altadena.
Let's talk about the Eaton Fire now. It continues to devastate Altadena and Pasadena. It is 15% contained this morning.
And this fire has claimed 6 lives, destroyed some 7,000 structures.
This is Altadena, the once beautiful suburb of Los Angeles, now in ruins after the Eaton Fire destroyed homes and businesses.
This is the equivalent of a massive heart attack for this town, and it is forever changed. Now, it's 14,000 acre fire, but the real damage has been done here in Altadena. Now, those deaths that you talked about are what we know so far.
The devastating Eaton fires left the Altadena community in crisis. Residents say they're being ignored.
I watched my mom cry dozens of times because she lost her great-grandmother's home where she grew up, where she was born in this city, raised in this city. So seeing her go through that, it made me very emotional as well.
My mom just said it to me. She's like, everything's gone? You mean the books that we have, like nothing? I'm just like, Mom, it's all gone. All of it. Every memory, all those things are gone.
And we're standing in front of a sign that says Altadena is not for sale because every single person here wants to make sure that the people are taken care of.
So this is my update on the Altadena fire. So I thought I'd start off this video by trying to explain how wide and deep the damage actually goes. Now, all those houses, those little red dots you see, are structures that are completely destroyed. Let me say that one more time. All those red dots are houses that are completely destroyed. The ones that you see in orange have major damage. The ones in yellow have minor damage. The ones in green are affected. The ones that are gray are inaccessible, and the ones in black have no fire damage. And when you look at this map as I scroll back and forth, you can really see how many people's homes have been completely destroyed. So what you're looking at is dash cam footage from my truck. And when I told my mom I'm going back up to the house, she wanted to come with me. My mom is a retired school teacher. And when she saw one of the schools, Loma Alta Elementary, that she'd spent quite a bit of time there, she started to cry.
Oh my God.
Now, one thing about Altadena is that it's a small town. And if you grew up out here and went to school out here, you know, Altadena/Pasadena, you know, you kind of knew everybody. You know, everybody knows everybody kind of thing. And it wasn't like you had a close relationship with everyone, but it was like, oh yeah, I know that dude. I went to school with him. He works over at, you know, this place and he helps me out with this kind of scenario. And as I drive down the street, it's a little surreal because as I look around, almost every street that I see, I have a story behind it. And I knew someone who was either living on that street or had lived on that street. So seeing it in this condition will take some getting used to. Now, the heavy police presence you saw at the beginning, that consisted of the LA County Sheriff's Department, the California Highway Patrol, and the National Guard. And the reason for their presence wasn't just for traffic, it was because people were looting. Yeah, looters. All I can say is I hope they repent. Now, if you saw the last video I did, which took place 4 days prior to the filming of this footage you're looking at, you know all of this was on fire. And though I did all that I could do as far as brush clearance and putting out many fires with the low water pressure I had, and I'll talk about that in a minute. I was concerned something else was gonna pop up and, burn the house down still, even though I did all that work. And this footage you're looking at is the earlier footage, and you can see as soon as I turned this corner here, these houses coming up on the right were still intact. I'm talking about this one right here and the one right next to it. You can see they were both still standing. And when I came around the corner this time, my fear for the house came true. They both had been burned down to the ground. Now, this is not my mom's house, but it is a family friend's house, and I'll talk more about this later. Now, after seeing that, I just don't know. Is the house there? Is it not there? I guess I'll find out in a second. And as I got closer to the house, I'm glad to report the house is still standing. And when my mom saw how close the fire was to the house, she cried again, but this time in thanks.
Oh, there's fire on here. Oh, thank you.
So what I thought I'd do now is try to talk through all the things that I did to kind of prep and show you what I was doing that I didn't get a chance to capture on my camera. What you didn't see right here were a lot of small fires on the ground, and I put those out with that low water pressure. And just when I almost had one area out, I saw it spreading in a different area, so I had to kind of run over there to stop that one from spreading while keeping my eye on the area that I just left that was still somewhat burning, and kind of had to run back and forth multiple times to get it completely extinguished. So like I said, I had low to no water pressure, so I wanted to throw dirt on it, and I noticed when I drove up to the house that there was a bunch of mud and a small water stream. Now that water stream, from what I've been told since I was little, is from a reservoir on the top of the hill, and from time to time they drain it. For whatever the reasons it was on, I decided to go down there and try to get mud and water to throw on the fires. So that's what I did. I was running down the hill and then running back up with hands full of dirt and mud to throw on the fires, and then going back and repeating the process over and over and over. So as I continued to work my way up the fence line, when I got to the top, I noticed there were several smaller fires on the back of the hill. And then when I looked further back, I noticed that there was a bigger set of flames that appeared to be approaching the gas line to my godparents' house. So I ran over there, got their water hose, and started to try to fight the fire, again with low water pressure.
This is the gas that I was trying to protect right here. And it was coming down right over here. And I was trying to it was like, line by line, kind of spreading. So I was trying to put the fire out right here. This had already kind of burnt up, but it was coming down, progressing down. So I was trying to stop it right over here. It looked like it kind of worked. Because, well, all praises to the Most High. Everything still seems to be here.
One of the things I believed helped is the night before, on the 7th, I actually turned on the sprinkler system to, soak the hill just in case any ambers or anything like that did come over. And before I left, I turned the water off to build up water pressure. And thank goodness I did do that, because had I not done that, I don't know if I would have had enough water pressure even to put out the small fires that I was able to. But one of the things that kind of bothered me is when I heard this reporter say this about the water pressure in Altadena.
Because despite all of the water pressure issues that we talk about here in Pacific Palisades, they had water in Altadena. They didn't have those problems there. And we still saw even more damage there.
I said, wait a minute, hang on. Did he just say what I thought he said? That we had water pressure?
They had water in Altadena. They didn't have those problems there.
No, that is wrong. We had lots of water pressure issues in Altadena. I'm not sure where he was getting his information from, but that is not accurate. Even in the first video I had posted, I talk about the low water pressure I had.
There, I was able to put that out, but again, I didn't have the water pressure. I tried to turn on the sprinkler system in the backyards, but just nothing coming out because, again, no water pressure.
Here's another report. Now, this neighbor lives about 1.5 miles to 2 miles away from this location, and he's talking about the same issue with the water pressure.
But somehow my house does not even have a scratch. There's no fire damage. I went in, but the house next to mine is still on fire. So I'm going around begging anybody to come put out that fire to protect my home.
Because there's no water.
There's no water pressure. I tried to turn on the water myself. I would have tried to put it out, but I have no water pressure, so I have no way of putting it out.
Here's another Altadena resident talking about the same issue with water pressure.
Block after block, it looks like a bomb hit it.
Paula Boyd lost her fourplex in the Eaton Fire. These pictures show how little is left. That's why she was at the LA County Board of Supervisors meeting with suggestions and questions.
Why they didn't have water in the fire hydrants? Why they didn't have water in the fire hydrants? Why there weren't firemen in the area? The firemen did a great job, and I understand if they're stretched thin.
Now, I know it goes without saying, if you have water, you can put out a fire. But even the president said the same thing about the sprinkler systems.
How many of the pumps, how many of the hydrants were working? And it was a, large percentage of them were not working at all. They had no water. And the ones that did have water didn't have a lot of pressure. And one of the things that was missing, many of you have sprinklers over your living room and your bathroom and your kitchen. I mean, if those sprinklers worked with some pressure, you would have had a much different outcome.
Now, I have seen other videos where people were fighting the fires with their water hoses in Altadena. And maybe they had pressure. Obviously, they had pressure over there. But I don't think there should be a blanket statement or a blanket understanding that everybody had water pressure, because that just is not accurate. And why we didn't have the water pressure and why was the fire department spread so thin, I guess those are all questions to be answered in the future. Now, having said all that, I am thankful that the house is still standing. It did sustain a lot of smoke damage, but at least it's still standing, as compared to this house, which is completely demolished. What you're looking at here is my little brother's house. And believe it or not, this is the same house that you just saw burnt down. Now, he's not my brother by blood, but I call him my adopted little brother. And I got love for him just the same.
What's going on?
You came on your bike?
What's that?
You came on your bike?
Yeah.
On this particular day, he had just finished his motorcycle training course, so he can get his bike and we can go ride together. Now, I've known Emil since he was born, and he was away at school when this fire took place. And he was really disappointed that he wasn't there to help me fight the fire, because this is him today. Yeah, boy, little brother coming up. Can't even call him my little brother no more. He started off as an explorer, and he advanced to some position. I'm not quite sure what it is. And now he teaches the other explorers and I believe other, volunteers, different firefighting tactics. And he's still in school. So right now he's just focusing on his college courses. So as soon as he's finished with those, he's going back to the fire academy to graduate. We're all very proud of him. Now back to this house. This house belongs to Bill, and Bill is a retired fire captain of the Pasadena Fire Department. And his son, Ryan, is a friend of mine, and he's one of the kids I grew up with on this street. And as I look at the house, I just get frustrated, because this house and the one next door could have been saved with just a little help. Now, I'd often run into Bill when I was passing by, and this is one of those times.
Hey, Bill. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How's everything?
Good, how you doing?
Oh, I can't complain.
Now, Bill was always a friendly authority figure when I was coming up, a gentle giant role model, if you will. And every time I came over, I felt comfortable, like I was family. And when I stopped by, we'd talk about a number of different topics. Oh, and by the way, this is the other house that unfortunately burned down. Now, we talk about anything from solar roof tiles to horse-mounted search and rescue volunteer work. I mean, no topic was off the menu. And out of all the times I saw Bill, there was only one time I ever saw Bill really get angry at us. We were all much younger and riding our bikes down the street, and he said, "Hey, get out the street, get over here." And he explained to us that we were turning too wide on this corner and that it's a blind corner and that we can get hit by an oncoming car. And I don't know if I ever told him thank you for that correction, because it saved me more than a few times on that corner, even as an adult on my mountain bike. And even to this day, every time I turn the corner on my motorcycle, I hear Bill yelling at me to make sure I hug the corner and can see through the turn. I really hope he rebuilds, because his presence will really be missed. And this is the turn I was talking about right here. Now this house right here, this is Troy, Sheena, and Gerald. Those were my good friends. Sheena was like my big sister, and she was a rapper back in the day, and I was her DJ, and oh, she was unstoppable on that mic. Down the street, this is Alicia. Alicia and I were friends in junior high school, and she lived right here. We did movies in Disneyland type stuff. And actually, remember the guy who said he didn't have the water pressure to save his house? I believe this is his house right here. Yeah. But I mean, there's so many stories of people all around the entire city. This right here, this was Easy Stop, and before that, it was 7-Eleven. Next to that was Lindsay's Liquor. Lindsay's Liquors was the sponsor to my Little League baseball team. I mean, the stories are endless. I mean, from the Dixons, the Petersons, the Drawns, Daryl and Crystal. I mean, to the first studio I ever worked out of, Rockline Recording Studios, burned down. To Ray Shell, my old manager, to Brian, Calvin, Kyle. Oh, and like I said before, this is going to take some time to get used to. Yeah, this is definitely going to take some time to get used to. But now I'll just say that my heart goes out to everyone who has lost a loved one and or their home. And I'm sending you my deepest condolences during this difficult time. So at this time, I ask you to please join me in remembering our beautiful city as it once was and honoring those who've lost their lives.